Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We're thrilled to resume what has been a long-standing tradition, the JCW Shabbat service.
It is an honor to hear reflections throughout our service.
Shabbat Shalom, Barbara Vilk-Emerson. I first arrived in Princeton actually in utero in the summer of 1943. My father was working at the newly opened RCA Sarnoff Center, and both of my parents, Jess and Marion Epstein, were very active in the formation of the Jewish Center. They even took a second mortgage on their house to help the Jewish Center purchase its first property, which was Princeton University's former baseball clubhouse. Dad served as the Jewish Center's second and fourth president. He also chaired the UJA when Einstein was its honorary chair. Einstein did come to our house, but I don't have any memory of that. But I do have very vivid memories of the board meetings in my parents' living room. And then they would all go into the little study and shut the door when they had something secret to discuss. My first Sunday school experience was when we met around the table at Dr. Robinson's dining room, and next we moved on to what's now Chuck's Cafe and met in the basement, and then we went to the Princeton Presbyterian Theological Seminary. When my brother, 2 years older than I, was bar mitzvahed, we wrote out penny postcards to the entire congregation, inviting them to the reception in our backyard, fruit punch and cookies. And I was the second girl to have what was then called a bat mitzvah, which was on a Friday night, long before we had a full egalitarian bat mitzvah for girls. Growing up in Princeton was very different then. There were only 1 or 2 Jewish students in each grade. After hearing me sing Away in the Manger, my mother went to the school to get them to stop teaching religious carols. In 8th grade, I gave a full assembly on Hanukkah, complete with a frying pan and potatoes. And it wasn't until I was in high school that they finally agreed not to give tests on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. The Jewish Center remains a very special place for me. David and I were married here. We returned from Israel as a young couple and made lifelong friends. And our daughters were bat mitzvahed here, and my parents had their funerals here. It's a full life circle, and we look forward to continuing enjoying the Jewish Center and all its riches.
Thank you to Barbara Vilk-Emerson, and now we have Alexandra Bar-Cohen.
Wow, I see this doesn't go up any. Oh, okay. I thought you guys rigged it. Erev Tov, Alexandra Bar-Cohen. We have been grateful members of the TJC family since the year 2000. I'd love to share how my son enjoyed his bar mitzvah so much that he declared it the best day of his life, before the party, mind you, or how I was hired by Fran to teach the teens and yet somehow ended up in nearly every classroom, including preschool. But this is the Jewish Center Shabbat, Women Shabbat, so I'm going to tell you about my daughter's Blita and how that gem of a ceremony made me the president. We welcomed Luna with an ufruf during a snowstorm. She was blessed by Rabbi Feldman Zichrono Livracha, and strong newborn that she was, she held the end of the napkin while Cantor Simon twirled and danced around her. After services, Rabbi Annie Tucker pulled on her snow boots and trekked to our home. The house was filled to the brim with joy and people, most of them from TJC, our friendships forged right outside in the preschool playground. Unlike a blit, there are no guidelines for naming a girl, so with Rabbi Tucker we created our own. Luna was passed from woman to woman as we washed her feet, each imparting a personal blessing or a bit of wisdom we most wanted to share with her. 14 years later, I agreed to be president during what I called, where's Nancy? The chrysalis period of loss and isolation. In other words, a time of intense pressure, you know, like the type in which diamonds are formed. We recently had lost our rabbi and were in the depths of the lockdown. The role was pitched to me from 6 feet away on my driveway in the bluster of a gray March afternoon, and I hadn't expected this particular call to service. Yet, I realized that during the 75 years of our otherwise egalitarian existence, of 43 presidents, there had only been 8 with ovaries. I knew during this trying time it might be really hard to be president, but it also might be even harder to find a president. So I thought of my own daughter, named at this very bima, and I never wanted her to be afraid to step up and, as they say in Israel, put her shoulder underneath the stretcher. So I said yes. Needless to say, I had the gift of being president as we welcomed our very first ever female head rabbi, and with Rabbi Mero and our 11th female president, Heidi, we are about to celebrate our diamond anniversary. So with diamonds, as you probably know, the word comes from the Greek meaning indestructible, adamas, which sounds a lot like the Hebrew word for earth, the place from which diamonds come from, adamah. Diamonds are objects of the earth, but diamonds are also things of the heavens. In 2007, scientists discovered a 10 billion trillion carat diamond in the sky. The star was, of course, then named Lucy. It would be great if it were Luna. Lucy in the sky of diamonds. So all I wanted to say in that is whether it's the way that TJC has kept us grounded at Adamah in our Jewish values, or enabled our spirits to soar into the heavens like Lucy, may we continue to shine like the diamond and illuminate the lives of countless generations of TJC women, girls, and all their men too. So.
I'm Judy Fleitman. Good evening. Our theme tonight is TJC's 75th anniversary, our diamond anniversary. So let's talk diamonds. They say and sing that diamonds are a girl's best friend. But I believe rather that best friends are a girl's diamonds. They certainly are mine. And joining TJC 15 plus years ago, I hit the mother lode. The acceptance, love, shared times, both celebratory and challenging, shared values, shared voice, and shared tefillah are just some among the multitude of facets of the diamonds in my brilliant collection. I may not be bejeweled on the outside, but my diamonds are encased in my heart and my soul. My message is that we all recognize our real treasure, each other. Though we may look at the edifice called TJC as our sanctuary, the sanctuary we provide each other is what has perpetuated our thriving congregation throughout these 75 years. Okay, here we go. For me personally, though I soon will be leaving what has been my treasured sanctuary these past 15 plus years, for happy reasons, but with terribly mixed emotions, I might add, I carry my treasure, my diamonds, with me in my heart, and they will continue to enrich my life, my neshama, and adorn my being. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm Ginger Schnitzer. The Jewish Center turned 75 this year, and I just don't get why we're making such a big deal about it. I mean, in a religion that's 5,784 years old, what's 75 years? It's nothing. It's about as long as a Snapchat streak with your grandmother. Our matriarch, Sarah, didn't even pop out a kid until she was 90, and here we are throwing a gala at 75. I tell you what, when I buy my ticket to the 75th anniversary gala, I am going to date the check 26 Nissan 5784 just to make the point. Am I the only one wondering? What is the significance of 75 years when we don't even follow the Gregorian calendar? I'm sure the board must have done this for the sake of convenience and to avoid arguments, because if we wanted to know how old we were according to the Jewish calendar, Heidi Joseph would have to appoint a committee to look into it and crunch the numbers. This is because, now stay with me, because 7 times every 19 years, the Jewish calendar has 13 months instead of 12. That's right, every now and again, to remain aligned with that big macher called the sun, we add an extra month after the month of Shevat and before the month of Adar. We can't even agree on what to call this extra month. Some call it Adar Aleph, Some call it a dar rishon. And for those of us who just show up for Kiddush, it is known as a dar 1. So in the course of 75 Gregorian years, there are 3.937 19-year cycles in which there were 13 months 7 times each. I heard the board reached out to Donna Gabai's husband, David, who is a brilliant mathematician at Princeton University. And after he tried to explain it, he suggested, why not just say 75 years? So here we are. But I gotta believe there are better ways to measure the life of the Jewish Center. Why don't we measure it in ufrafs, in shiva minyans, in baby namings and britot milah, in prayers for our country and Israel and soldiers, and sadly for hostages, please God bring them home. Why don't we measure it in the number of times Evie Grossman asks us to consider a life and legacy gift? And in the number of times that we intend to make one, but we never get around to it. Jay and I did ours this week. We should measure in toddlers on the playground and those for whom we plant daffodils. We should measure the life of TJCs in lulavs and etrogs and Purim carnivals in the number of times we contribute something, anything, to the annual fund, in the visits we make to Yisrael, and in the visits we make to the sick. In other words, we should measure the life of our shul not in years, but in ahava, love. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 bagels with schmear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a TJC year? In simchas, b'nei mitzvahs, chuppahs and kiddush luncheons, in study, in mitzvot, in laughter and strife. 525,600 minutes. How did we get to reach 75? How about ahava? Sing it. How about ahava? How about ahava? Measure in love. TJC, love. Shabbat shalom. Happy 75th.
Shabbat shalom. My name is Jamie Levine Daniel.
And I'm Mayla Daniel.
It's been wonderful to hear all of these reflections, but you may be surprised to see us up here because we've only been members for less than a year.
And I'm Abby Cornfield, and I've only been a member for a little over 5 years. So what would you do if your best friend living in Indiana texted you and asked you for a realtor recommendation in Princeton? Okay, she knew not to get my hopes up and put the disclaimer that we are not moving in capitals. So let's go back 23 years. GB and I first met at Hillel at American University. Little did I know that she had high hopes for me becoming her little sister when I joined her sorority, A Phi.
The sorority brought, yes, A Phi. The sorority brought us together as big and little, but we're more than that. We're family. I went home for the holidays with her in college when I couldn't go to my own home. We stood as bridesmaids in each other's weddings, but even though we have a house here in Princeton, we haven't lived in the same city for almost 2 decades, and I kept having to tell Abby it wasn't happening, until it did. After coming to terms with the fact that we were not coming back to the East Coast, and even briefly listing our house here on the market, thanks Heidi, I got a job that brought us back to the region.
So the first text about not moving came in July 2022. Spring of 2023, I got a different phone call that Jamie was wrong, and she actually had the potential to move to Princeton. Long story short, Elon, Jamie's husband, for those of you that don't know, went to middle school and high school here and still owned the house. In summer of 2022, Jamie thought they were selling, but joke on her, she actually moved here instead.
So now our friendship has taken this beautiful new journey. Instead of going years without seeing each other, 2 weeks seems like far too long. We've joined the temple here, the synagogue here, and we get to go to services together, or, the lobby minyan. We get to see our kids on the bima together. We saw them receiving their sidurim together. We know that they're going to cause lots of mayhem at Ramah together this summer. And we look forward to many more years of this.
So don't worry, I won't let her move again, and we look forward to many more years of TJC memories together.
Hi, I'm Edie Kamenier.
And I'm Gabrielle Kamenier.
So we'll start with a little story. In late December 2016, David and I took Gabrielle to Washington, D.C. for the very first time. Gabrielle had just turned 5, and I'm sure many of you can still picture that bright-eyed, rosy-cheeked preschooler who darted up and down these very aisles every Shabbat. So unsurprisingly, she brought that same energy to our little getaway. So we tried to find activities that would keep her engaged and, importantly, contained, both for her safety and our sanity. So a trip to the Smithsonian fit the bill. So the night before, we prepped her with all of the interesting things she would see the next day: dinosaur bones and mummies, and the largest diamond in the world, the Hope Diamond. So the next day, we slept through the museum, pointing out all the highlights as we went, but Gabrielle was really reserving her awe for the big diamond on the 3rd floor. A short line had formed in front of the exhibit, just enough to obscure the display while heightening the anticipation. As we made our way to the front, we and everyone nearby heard a little voice say,
That's it? I thought you said it was a really big diamond, Mommy.
To which a sympathetic bystander turned to David and me and said, "Oh boy, you're in big trouble."
So, when it comes to diamonds, we know our stuff. And of course, we know all about the 4 C's: carat, color, cut, and clarity. This year, as we mark the Jewish Center's Diamond Jubilee, we want to offer the 4 C's of TJC.
The first C is for community. I've had the honor of leading listening sessions with the congregation as part of our 2 most recent long-range planning efforts. In every session, the word mentioned most frequently as the main benefit of the Jewish Center is the sense of community that we all actively build together. It's this community that has shared in our joys, like when Gabrielle was named on this very bima, and comforted us in our sorrows.
The next C is for commitment. I am very committed to my studies as I become a bat mitzvah later this year, and I've experienced the commitment of Rabbi Mero, Avi, Nancy, and the entire TJC team. They are helping me learn and prepare to become an adult member of the TJC community. The third C is for chocolate and candy. Every Friday night, regardless of whether I had eaten dinner yet, Rabbi Feldman of blessed memory always gave me lots of cookies after services, so that I would always associate sweetness with going to shul. Even now, when I've mastered a new trope, Avi treats us to full-sized candy bars.
And the last C, is for continuity. It's these foundational experiences that we're sharing together, Shabbat after Shabbat, holiday after holiday, that are creating the memories for our children now that will become the blueprint for them as they build the religious and spiritual foundation for their children in the future. And that C is the most priceless of all. Here's the next 75.
L'chaim.
I'm Suzanne Esterman, and you guys have heard a lot already, so this is going to be pretty short. It's no secret that celebrating JCW Shabbat on a Friday night rubs me the wrong way. It elicits the days when women were second-class citizens who couldn't read from the Torah on Saturday mornings and had to have their bat mitzvahs on Friday nights. This was my New York City suburb conservative congregation in 1976. And even in 1981, at my brother's bar mitzvah, I could only open and close the Ark for Elenu with my aunt. So yeah, I harbor a little resentment. But tonight is JCW Shabbat, and I would be here for it on a Wednesday or any other day that ends in Y. That wasn't always the case. I came to JCW kind of by accident. dropped the boys off for junior congregation in the Beit Midrash, and I walked across the lobby and into a full sanctuary. I sat down, probably next to your mom, Ellen, and was instantly transported by Donna Gavai's sweet, soulful voice, welcoming Shacharit and ushering in the absolute ruach that filled the space we're in now. When it was time for the Torah service, I felt so many feels watching a very wizened and very happy Phyllis Kershan leading the procession. I mean, she was a woman of a certain age. And I was proud, in total admiration. And that helped me push away the traitorous voice in my head that said, this isn't the norm. To get to this point, though, Phyllis had her own negative voices to overcome. The ones that said, hey, you can't do this as a woman. And even though she already knew the words and the melodies, it took quite a while for her to listen to her soul and rise up at 4'0" to escort the Torah with her voice and her heart. But get there she did, and I'm grateful. So I know that Phyllis, Shirley, Shana Menaker, may their trailblazing memories be for a blessing. And Sandy and Tiona and Ruth and Donna and every other woman in this room, may you live forever, has felt the pressure like a grip, grip, grip that won't go to do as tradition dictates. We've also felt the pressure like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop until we could participate on our own terms. It's been 75 years of TJC, and pressure can make beautiful things. No pressure, no diamond. Shabbat Shalom.